Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Leading Crypto, I am CVO, and this morning we're going to take a look at Ethereum, Cardano. I'm going to take just a brief look at XRP as it's hit some of our targets, and just really, excited to hear my own voice as always in the morning when I forget to turn off the back video. All right. So here we go. TA Thursday, right? So coming into the weekend, as we are approaching Friday for, price action across the board here. So I did not make an update yesterday, and we did have our members only market update in the Leading Crypto Discord server last night. And really looking back at this price action, we've been nowhere we haven't since for the last almost 2 weeks now. So just another, range bound area. I bring up this region, quite often at this point. This is our previous high. This is dating back to November, right before we had, I think this was FTX, right? That was the reasoning behind it, at least, in the news. Looking at the structure we're in right now, it's potentially almost making the same setup here. So when we look at the highs, you did, essentially take them, right? So this is a 1680, and we pushed up to 1684. So you took them by $4 here on Bybit. And we've just been kind of, for lack of a better word, I've said it like 100 times this week, but rooting around right in this region. You've got potential for, a little head and shoulders play to start, lining up here, which, takes us down to an interesting target just in that idea alone, right? So we're getting something like this, right? You got a little higher for the head. And if we're not going to break this region, start coming down and losing this region right here, you get a nice little measured move your head to your neckline, so on. Gives you a target down basically back to this little peak right here, right? So an interesting note about that is if you had a little local gold pocket from this local rise, right, that brings you into the gold pocket as well. So, valid target in my opinion, down towards basically, 1350, about a $300 move from the high, right? And almost $300 move from where we are right now. So there's, definitely something to be aware of in that sense. From where we are down in a percentage base, it's a, potential 15% drop. Once again, very common after, a really, really nice move to the upside. And that really all, starts to look different when you want to get back above weekly open at this point. Right? So looking at this also just from a little bit of a structure standpoint, you ran it up. One thing about this is that this was last week's high also, right? So we look at the previous week range pretty often here. So I'm going to take off this November high. And you can see here that this was our previous week high. So, to spin back around and actually push higher, take the previous week high, essentially knock out a good amount of stop losses in this area, since we have been basically building this up now for 2 weeks. And then actually, taking a nice little pullback is definitely something I'm looking for as well. So just kind of something to be aware of. Obviously, at the moment, there's potential for this to just, be an area where we do get a little rejection from as we have come back into the range. You've rotated it. You're basically getting a really nice just range rotation, right? So at the moment, no real need to, assume otherwise unless we start breaking back out, closing back above. You've only had a couple of wicks to the upside here right at the weekly open. So essentially you broke back down, back tested the weekly open. So in the meantime, you would anticipate coming at least back down to the bottom of the range, about 1510. Point of control comes in about 1551. Otherwise, break this region, and we look to challenge into the previous week high, right? And we actually take these highs a little bit more substantially. All right. For downside, it's pretty much at the moment, really looking to see if we come through and take these lows here. And then I would imagine that we're going to make our way down to that little local golden pocket, right? Back to this 1350 little, this was actually a monthly pivot as well, just from, I believe it was November. This was one of our major targets as we came into it. Let's see here. Well, there's all of them there. But anyways, I do have a monthly pivot right there in that region as well. Still got the untapped weekly down here as far as a pivot would go there. So some pretty high statistical targets there. Our 6 month, obviously, still coming in about 1408. Not that that's going to change. So when I say still coming in, it's always going to come in there. So yeah, just areas to the downside there. And then if you're looking at this as an overall gold pocket opportunity as well, you do have that lining up down here about 1286. So kind of in line with that untapped weekly pivot. A couple other regions down there as well. So really just a high level, I don't even think it's worth trying to bring up all the ranges that I generally kind of go through, because I still think that the analysis is the same in my opinion. So it really does come down to, are we going to come through and start claiming this high? At that point, I'm looking for potentially a move up to about 1780, right, in this region, 1765, 1780. Thing about that is that this is the next local high in this region back to September. So I would imagine if we did make our way all the way up here, we would at least pierce through that a bit in order to take that high effectively. And then the major target to the upside at the moment still remains our yearly pivot, right, for this year, untapped, which is about 1989, right? So that still remains the major target. So 1780, then essentially between there and 1989 is the next major area to be looking for. Otherwise, pullback should be expected and anticipated as long as we're still remaining under this weekly open. And I would anticipate potentially even coming back to 1350 and all the way down even to that 1250 mark for that weekly pivot. So that's what I'd be looking for out of ETH. Cardano, just going to run through a couple of these too. Coming up to just about fulfill our range here in full. We had a major area of resistance right here we were targeting at about 37 cents. Obviously, we met that, came back for a pullback. Local gold pocket right here, got the bounce. Now we are getting the monthly pivot and the EQ of the range as support. And the next target to the upside is the range high. And we do have a pretty decent gold pocket just above that, about 42 cents. And the next RP also just, full range rotation, had a nice little drop, right? Sometime I thought it was last week. I guess it was 2-3 weeks ago at this point. Came back tested the Q2 22 low. And from there, just rotated the range once again in full. Range high coming in about 42 cents. So interesting to see how this plays out. Start looking for more upside if we claim this 43 cent region right here. So, and we'll take a look at Aptos anyways. We were looking at this last night. There's a request on the members only market update. There's not much information on it, right? It's fairly new project, at least on KuCoin. I didn't see too much more data anywhere else. And looking at this from a trend-based perspective, basically pulled off a trend-based fib into, we ran it right to the gold pocket, clearing this region. There is an 886 at 2244, and then the 1-to-1 comes in at 2380. Potential rejection right here. It takes us back down to about 14, right? Basically a back test of the value rate high. Pay attention to that region if we get there. See if we get a nice reaction, maybe a continuation to the upside. Otherwise, if we break it back into this little range, and do know that once again, this is very little info data, right, to go off of. But we do have an untapped daily level right here. Weekly pivot comes in this region. Gold pocket aligns with the EQ, point of control, so on. So that would be the areas that I'd be looking for if we come back down into this range. Otherwise, potentially we press up to $22 and $23. And that is what I have for y'all today. TA under 10 minutes. That should have been the title. Trying to keep it nice, crisp, and smooth for you. Be sure to tune in later this morning for some Bitcoin analysis with Magic Internet Money and Burr Max to the max. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the Friday weekly roundup tomorrow. If you're interested in joining the leading crypto Discord server, the information for that is in the Discord. It's in the information box below. We do have a website that if you go on there and you log on, you can check into the monthly memberships, and we do offer a 1/2 off month special. Information on that's in the description box below. Just put in the promo code BTC22. If you got any questions, be sure to hit me up in Discord. Otherwise, I will see you all in the next video. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in this beautiful world. And until then,